food, it is very important to talk about the variety of food that we see. So, if you have ever observed that, let's say you are three friends, so do you think that all of you have the same item in your lunchbox? Not really. Maybe one of you have a bowl of rice, the other one has a burger, and the third one has a bunch of French fries. So basically all of you have different food items to eat. And why do you have different items? Because there is a huge variety of food available to us. So everybody, as per their own taste, as per their own convenience, they eat different types of food. Now the variety of food which are available for people, that also depends on a lot of different factors. For example, different people have different food habits. So people inhabiting different regions eat different foods depending on the climate of that area, depending on the availability of food. So there are a lot of factors which are also dependent on the location. So that is why people in different locations generally have different food habits. So if you see in India, we have a lot of people who eat, especially in the northern parts of India, people prefer to eat roti, rice and the curries. But when you go to the southern parts of India, they also eat these kind of rice items like idli, dosa. So these are all staple food for these people. But if you go to the western countries, they also have a slightly different food habit. So they eat burger, pizza, breads. So, depending on locations, you might have different variety of food. But what we are concerned about is not only the food which we eat, but the ingredients of which the food is made up of. So when we talk about idli, it is made up of rice, urad dal. When we talk about chapati, it is made up of wheat flour. When we talk about a curry, it is made up of vegetables, spices, salt. So different food items are made up of different ingredients. So when we look at the huge variety of food, so some of the most common food like which are used as staple food like rice, roti, idli, dosa. So these are all like quite simple composition. So they are all either made up of rice grains or made up of wheat or made up of rice mixed with a pulse. Again, when you talk about items like burger or French fries or cheese, yogurt, these are all milk products. Both of them are obtained from milk. Just that the process of their preparation are a little different, and that is why we get different products. You talk about juices which are obtained from fruits and vegetables. Talk about items like chicken which are obtained from animals. So you see, when you look at the variety of food, you see that all of them are obtained from different sources. Some of them are obtained from plants, some of them are obtained from animals. Now when we go one step deeper, that is, now we are not looking at the food item, we are not looking at whether it is a pizza or a burger or a fried rice. What we are looking at is, what is that food made up of? What is the fried rice made up of? What is the pizza made up of? So now we are talking about the ingredients. So here, if you talk about these items like rice, idli, dosa or chapati. So each of these items, now I am talking about their ingredients. So when I talk about their ingredients, so what would be the ingredients for boiled rice? So how do we prepare boiled rice? We take rice grains and we take some water. We boil it, and that's how we get boiled rice. If you talk about idli or dosa, so for them all we need is some rice, some urad dal, some amount of water, and maybe for dosa a little bit of oil. So that's how you get idli or dosa. When you talk about chapati or roti, so there you need flour, maybe wheat flour or maida, whatever. You need some water. So again, this gives you, and then you bake it on the oven. So again, that gives you the chapati. So here in all of these items, you saw that the ingredients are quite simple. You just need one or two things and that's it. You are able to prepare these food items. However, a lot of food items have multiple ingredients, like quite complex composition. You need a lot of things to prepare them. So let's have a look at some of those type of food items. So here you see fried rice here, and here you see a vegetable curry. So in both of these, you don't need just one or two things, you need a lot of things. So if you want to prepare a fried rice, so for that you would need vegetables, because you have cut the vegetables and put them. So you need a lot of vegetables. You also need some amount of oil. You need rice, of course you need rice. And you also need spices, like you might need haldi, you might need coriander powder. So there are a variety of spices, especially in India. There are a lot of spices which are being used during cooking. So the food items have a lot of spices. You need salt. So all of these ingredients mixed together in right amounts will result in the formation of fried rice or even the vegetable curry. So here you don't need one or two things, you needed a lot of things. And each of these ingredients, whether you talk about the rice or you talk about the oil, you talk about the spices or the vegetables, these are the things which act as nutrients, which give us nutrients which we need to get energy for our survival. So these rice would give us carbohydrates, these vegetables would give us minerals and vitamins, this oil might give us some fat. So that way all these ingredients are the one which actually give us the nutrients that we need. And now you might ask, then why do we cook them? Why don't we eat them raw? Why don't we drink a glass of oil? Why don't I simply chew a carrot and I don't cook it? So why we do this is just to improvise the taste, because we have taste buds. So we want the food to be tasty, and for that purpose we boil them, we fry them, we add spices to make it more tasty, and that's the entire purpose of cooking. Okay, so here we reached till the level of ingredients. Next question is, from where do we get these ingredients of food? So from where do we get the spices? From where do we get the vegetables? From where do we get the rice grains? From where do we get the pulses? So all these things which we have used in making the food items. So from where do we get these items? Because we know that how the food is prepared in our kitchen. Our parents or we ourselves will prepare the food. But to prepare that food, we need some ingredients like these. So from where do we get those ingredients? So that's the next agenda now. So if you try to look at the sources, the main source from which we receive food, you will see that all food ingredients are obtained from either of these two sources, plants or animals. So either they are obtained from plants. For example, you talk about the vegetables, you talk about the fruits, you talk about the cereals. So all of them are obtained from plants. On the other hand, you think of meat, you think of egg, think of milk, all of these are obtained from animals. So basically, all types of food ingredients are either obtained from plants or from animals. So let us look at both the sources of food one by one. So we will start with plants. So I think with this you got to know that why do we cultivate crops? Why do we have something called agriculture? So when you, especially in the urban areas, you don't get to see it much. But if you go to the villages, you get to see huge stretch of land where crops are being cultivated. You get to see long stretches of paddy fields. So why do we have them? Because we need food. So let's talk about crop cultivation. So what is crop cultivation? I mean, before that, how do we define a crop? What is crop? So crop is a plant that is grown on a large scale commercially. So a plant which we grow in our garden, maybe in a small area, we are just growing one tomato plant. So then we call it a plant. But when we grow, say, 10,000 of tomato plants in a huge stretch of land, we do not call it a plant anymore. We call it a crop. So crop is always like huge number of plants which are grown on a large scale commercially, for commercial purpose. Obviously, if I am planting 10,000 tomato plants, that is definitely not for my individual use, right? So that is definitely because I want to sell them. So that's for a commercial purpose. So when so many of plants are being grown on a large scale, that is when we call it as a crop. Okay, now why do we cultivate crops? Because Everybody needs food. All human beings need food. All animals need food. Every living organism needs food. So we need to grow huge number of plants, and that is where we talk about crop cultivation. So we also talk about crop yield. That means how much is the production of crop. We talk about crop production practices. How can we improve the production of crops? How can we increase the production of crops? We also talk about crop improvement. How can we improve the quality of crops, because these are the crops which are actually going to provide nutrients to our body, so we need to ensure that the quality is maintained, right? Okay, so this is from where we get the fruits and vegetables and cereals, whatever we eat in our diet. Now the question is, okay, so we get all of these from plants. So which part of a plant do we eat? Because when we look at a plant has fruits, it has flowers, it also has seeds, it has roots, stem, leaves. So there are so many different parts of the plant. You have the roots which are under the ground, you have the stem, the branches, these are the branches, this is like the main stem, you have flowers, you have fruits, you also have seeds, and seeds are present somewhere inside the fruits. And what are seeds? Seeds are those parts which are capable of giving rise to a new plant. So you would have often seen in your garden that when you want to grow a new plant, you often make use of seeds, and you put the seeds under the soil, and then gradually a new plant comes up. So these are all various parts of the plant. Now the question is, when we receive our food items from plants, so which part of the plant are we actually eating? Is it the fruit, or is it the seed, or the root, or the stem? So now we will look at various examples of food items which we receive from plants, and we will see which part of the plant is that particular food. Look at different types of crops. We'll start with pulses. So pulses are like, there are many varieties of pulses which are grown. For example, you have gram, you have pea, black gram, green gram, lentils. So all of them are like, look-wise they are different, taste-wise also they are different. So as you can see in the picture, and I'm sure you are familiar with many of these, or in fact all of these. So these are all different types of pulses. Now do you know from where do we get these pulses? Obviously from plants, but which part of the plant are these pulses? So these pulses are nothing but the seeds. So they are the seed grains. So the seeds are actually these pulses. So that means indirectly I am trying to say that these pulses are capable of giving rise to a new plant. Yes, if suitable conditions are made available to them, they can definitely give rise to a new plant, because they are nothing but the seeds. You think of the cereals like rice, wheat, maize, millets. So what are these? So they form as our staple food, like they form the rice which we eat, boiled rice, fried rice. Yeah, the chapatis are prepared from the wheat flour, the corn of which we make a lot of different things. These are all obtained from these plants. So what are these? Again, if you look at the rice grains, you look at the grains of wheat, what are they? These are also nothing but seeds. But the only difference is that when you look at the plants of rice or wheat or maize, you see that they really do not look like the other plants which we normally have in our gardens. The difference is that these plants, all the cereals, their plants look like grasses. They are like grasses. So these are like seeds of grasses, you can say, rather than plants. But basically these are also seeds. Then you talk about oil seeds. So from where do we get oil? So we talk about different types of oil. We talk about sunflower oil, we talk about sesame oil, talk about olive oil, talk about mustard oil. So what are these? All these oil, different types of oil, they are all obtained from different types of seeds. Whether you talk about groundnut or castor or soya bean, sesame, linseed, they are all different types of seeds, and these seeds have that speciality that you can extract oil from them. So oil is present within these seeds. So oil can be extracted by putting these parts of the plant under pressure, which squeezes out the oil from them. So that's how we get the sesame oil, soya oil, castor oil, groundnut oil, mustard oil, and so on. So these are also nothing but seeds. It is just that these seeds have oil within them, and that's where from which we extract that oil. So you see so many different varieties of, we prepare so many different varieties of stuffs using the various cereals and the pulses, but basically they are all seeds of different plants. Not only these, you talk about the vegetables and fruits. Obviously, there is a huge variety of vegetables and fruits available, and we will also talk about them a little later, that which vegetable is which part of the plant. So now we have been talking about the oil seeds, pulses and the cereals, and we saw that all of them are nothing but the seeds of the plant. Now, a simple question might arise in your mind that, okay, when you say that all the pulses that is there in my house, they are all seeds and they can give rise to a new plant. That's like quite hard to believe that that can give rise to a new plant altogether. So if you don't trust me, so let's do this. So let's see how seeds can give rise to a new plant. So all you need to do is you take some seeds, dry enough, clean and dry seeds. So you can take the moong seeds, or you can also take chana, which we call, so here what you see is nothing but a moong. So the whole moong seeds, okay. So when you take them in a bowl, right now it is completely dry, and then what we do? So our aim here is to prove that these pulses that we eat are seeds and they can give rise to new plants. So here I have to prove that from these seeds you can get new plants. So what we will have to do is we add some water in good quantity to this container where we have the seeds. Now please remember that water should be added in good quantity, and then you leave it overnight, just like that, overnight, or in fact for a complete day, just like that. So just have the seeds in a bowl, pour a lot of water, just leave it undisturbed. Then the next day, you drain the water completely, take out the water completely, and then wrap the seeds in a piece of cloth and keep aside. So here how you see it in the picture. So pack it in a piece of cloth, either keep it hanging or keep it aside. And then again you leave it for one day. And you know the next day what will you see? Magic happens. You will observe some white stem-like structures, very tiny, thin structures. So as you can see here, so you see the green color seeds, these are the same seeds which you see here. But now along with the seeds you have a white tail-like structures. You see these white tail-like things? So what are these white structures? So they came up on their own, right? So when you see these structures, that is when we say that the seeds have sprouted. So this shows that earlier it was only the seed. Now from the seed, it has given rise to the entire stem, and gradually, now if you take proper care of this, if you put it in the soil, keep watering it, and if it gets all that which is needed for its growth, it will gradually grow into a new plant altogether. However, when we sprout these kind of seeds, the consumption of these sprout seeds are very healthy. So many a times these type of sprout seeds are used as a snack item. So that's one thing. But you can do this at your home to prove it to yourself that these pulses which we eat, they are nothing but seeds and they can give rise to new plant. So do not try it out with any other seed, because not every seed has the capability to sprout. But at least if you try it out with chana or with moong, you will definitely experience this. Now, when you look at it from the perspective of seed germination, that how a seed gives rise to a new plant altogether. So in the first picture you see it was just a pulse before, which was nothing but a seed, and then the seed gradually gave rise to this small tail which I was talking about in the previous slide. And when you put it in the soil and suitable conditions are made available, it gives rise to a new plant. And this entire process is called germination, where a seed grows to form a seedling, which is like a small plant, and then the seedling gradually grows to become a plant. Now it is very necessary that for germination to take place, conditions, environmental conditions have to be favorable. So germination will happen only under favorable conditions. So this shows that, okay, so the cereals or the oil seeds or the pulses, they are all seeds.